So good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for staying back and welcome back again. We begin the Deftronics Awards ceremony now. But before we kind of, take this further, can we all stand up for the national anthem, please?
पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल वंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उत्कल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नाभि जावे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे तव जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय
Yeah. Thank you. So we'd like the dignitaries to come onto the dais. Like to welcome our host for the day. I mean, and this whole program has been put together to felicitate Padma Shree Dr. BVR Mohan Reddy, sir. Please come onto the stage. Like to welcome Ashwini Agarwal, IASA Chairman, to come on stage, please. Okay. We now request Ashwini to welcome the gathering. Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. It's my pleasure to take the welcome note this evening on the felicitation ceremony and to bring forward the dream that we talked of earlier in the morning. The theme that we talked of, Swatantra Bharat, Surakshit Bharat, Swayam Siddh Bharat. And today, in this particular part of the program, we will actually felicitate the dignitaries, the individuals who actually contributed to making that Swayam Siddh Bharat. Among others, we have, of course, Dr. Reddy here, the founder, chairperson for Scient, Padma Shri awardee. He has received multiple lifetime awards, and it is our privilege, my privilege, to share the dais with him, and our privilege to have him here and this evening to be with us as we felicitate him. Sir, this is a very unique occasion. Actually, if you can take this part of my heartfelt expression, there comes a time when an individual ceases to be an individual, ceases to be a person with a particular company. He rises beyond, becomes something larger for the industry, and then we have the special category recognized by the nation with, through the Padma Shri Award, where you are actually going beyond. You have become something for the nation. We have a privilege having you here, and we will, go ahead and bring that, felicitation, that passion of yours out upfront as we go ahead with this program. I would really like you to take this moment and address us with a keynote, sharing your experiences, sharing your thoughts for the evening as we go through this part of the ceremony and hear from you. So your audience and
Ashwini, ladies and gentlemen, very good evening to all of you. At the outset, let me thank the IESA, the Indian Electronics and Semiconductor Association for bringing Deftronics to Hyderabad. While I would always describe myself to be an Indian first, but I'm a die-hard fan of Hyderabad. And special thanks to you, sir, and your team for bringing this event for the first time into Hyderabad. And I know a fairly large number of people, especially I don't see Kiran Mai, but she had a very important role to play in creating this event for us this evening. So a special thanks for her for persuading the IESA management to get this event here. I haven't been in the morning, so I didn't completely catch up about, we said Swatantra Bharat? Surakshit Bharat. Okay. So Surakshit Bharat and Swayamsiddh Bharat. Surakshit? Great, thank you. So consistent with what we talked a few minutes back, I wanted to talk to you this evening more on product development in defense and in electronics. Let me start off by saying where is the need for product development in India is that I'm sure this is not something which is not new to many of you. If you look at the hardware demand for electronics in this country, it's estimated by 2020, it probably would be somewhere in the range of $400 billion. And the domestic market will only size up to a level which is about $100 billion, which means we'll have a trade deficit of as much as $300 billion. I think that's good reason for us to think about saying, why do we need to import so much? Why don't we make in India? The second one is that any nation around the world in the current times that we live are very, very worried about security and safety of the citizens of the country. As the Prime Minister said in the past, wars of the future will not be fought with ammunition, but it will be all with the type of knowledge power that we have. It's the cyber security which can make a difference for countries. So therefore, rightly pointed out earlier that the key challenge will be to make sure that we have self-sufficiency for the country, and there is also safety and security for the nation, and that's one reason why we should go ahead and do product development in India. And if you look at what we have done so far in aerospace and defense in India, 70% of what we require in India is all imported. And I have the numbers from Planning Commission that's disbanded all right now. Between 2004 and 2008, the block of 5 years, and for 2009 and 2013, anywhere between 7% to 18% of international arms production. I'm not talking of domestic, I'm talking of international arms production was imported into India. And lastly, the reason why I think product development is very important for India is that we have enormous amount of need for job creation. I'm sure you must have heard of this in the past, that we right now put 1 million people every month in the streets of India for jobs. That's how people are getting skilled. Or you probably approximated thereafter, it works out to be about 10 million jobs every year. Or with the pace at which the demographic dividend continues to move, for 10 years, we'll probably have to create 100 million jobs. Currently, one back of the envelope shows, we don't have very authentic numbers, we have somewhere between 8% to 10% of unemployment in this country. So every reason, it's not just the existing unemployment, but I think there is tremendous amount of need for job creation. So therefore, the three reasons I have is, one is the raising import bill, the second is the safety and self-reliance, and the third is the job creation for need for product development. Let me then move on to say, what are the challenges that we have in terms of product development? And the first one is that there's a lack of technology absorption. Given that we have not done so much amount of development in the country, you don't have that momentum, you don't have that mass, you probably have more amount of inertia in terms of the lack of technology absorption in the country. The second one is, however much we can talk about it, we still have enormous amount of challenges in terms of ease of doing business. I was talking to Mr. Jalan. He talked about earlier, before I came in here, he said how he certainly got benefited because of the TSI pass. There are streaks of those initiatives that are happening from the government, but generally, I think there was a challenge in terms of ease of doing business, though I think even for 2016-17, World Bank shows that India is at the 130th position out of 190 countries they surveyed. There are a few areas like, minority investors. I'm sure one of the large IT companies is still fighting for minority interests, but we're still doing well on that count. We're about 13th on that list, I believe. Or getting power is at the 26th, and so on and so forth, but still doing business is the biggest challenge that we have. And the third one is the infrastructure. You need to have both physical infrastructure and the digital infrastructure. We've been listening to the government in terms of digital India, digital connectivity. I think it's a far cry. And so also is the physical infrastructure. Things are definitely changing, but I think these are the three key challenges that we had. Lack of technology absorption, ease of doing business, and infrastructure as key reasons why we haven't progressed so well. But at this point of time, where we stand today, I think timing could not have been any better for people to talk about product development. I think the key reason, the key driver for it is all about technology. Technology is at its best. I keep saying the velocity of change, velocity of technology change has increased considerably. No denying the predictability of technology has come down, but what we see, a combination of both of them, makes us believe that there are a tremendous amount of opportunities ahead of us. Why is this technology becoming so, why are we becoming so obsessed with this technology? Is the first reason I think is technology continues to become cheaper and cheaper as time goes by. Gordon Moore said in 1974 that the size of the chips or the density of a semiconductor will come down by half every 18 months. And he said the cost of the semiconductor will come by half in 18 months, or the size will become half in 18 months. People said that he was mad in 1974. In 1994, they said 20 years later, let's review what it was, and they felt that Gordon Moore was wrong because it wasn't taking 18 months any longer, it was taking even shorter than 18 months for all these three things to happen. So, and the pace, after another 20 years, in 2017, we see that certainly technology continues to be moving at the same pace, where we see computation, storage, as well as the size of sensors and cost of sensors have dramatically come down. That's one key driver in terms of the disruptions that are happening. The second one is that there was, at one point of time, something called developing world and developed world. But today that barrier does not exist anymore. People like me lived in age and times when Microsoft made a release of a software in Seattle. It would take 6 months thereafter for us to receive in India. 6 months was the least. But what is it today? We probably get it much faster than even people in the United States itself. As 5:30 in the evening in Seattle is 5 o'clock in the morning. 3 hours later, people are at work in India compared to in the United States who are at work at 8 o'clock in the morning, which is probably under 13 hours away. So therefore, or 15 hours away. So therefore, I think globalization of technology is at its best today. So therefore, product development, it gives you an opportunity for product development. The third is that you also see that all of us around the world are getting more comfortable with technology. I have a 4-year-old granddaughter, and she's now 4 years. Even about 18 months back or so, she started watching us playing around with this Apple cell phones, the smartphones, where you go ahead and even increase the size of your fonts just by pinching it. So one day I saw this little girl running across up to the TV and trying to pinch on the TV to make sure that the picture becomes more clear to her. So that's the familiarity our children are going through in terms of technology. We never thought by touch screen. You look at Tesla Motor Company's car at this point of time, it doesn't have knobs any longer. There's not a single knob in that car. There's just one 17-inch diagonal screen sitting in front of the driver. So our familiarity in terms of technology is certainly increasing, and people are seeing clearly competitive advantage of technology. And finally, the reason why I think timing could not have been any better is that there is a multiplier effect of technology. Look at this example, Uber. What's Uber? Well, it's not a taxi company, it's a platform. It's a platform, we won't go into that too much, but it's a platform which makes the car drivers on one side and then their riders on the other side. They come and meet with each other and make sure it happens. But look at another technology called financial fintech, Paytm as a company. Paytm and Uber are two different types of things. One is a ride-sharing company, the other is a payment gateway. But without payment gateway, Uber would not have been what it is. Or the other way around is also true. Paytm should not have been what it is without Uber. So today you see a multiplying effect of technology, and I can give you a number of other examples of how this is happening. So therefore, we are at a point of time where technology is at its best. So therefore, timing could not have been any better for doing product development. So I have three strategies. My strategy number one, what do we need to do in order to exploit this digital technology, in order to ensure we get more ahead of many others in terms of product development? First one is, we need to create an environment where innovation becomes the DNA of every individual in this nation. So we have to start in our corporate world. I'm sure most of you here come from the industry. We got to make sure that innovation is not limited to silos of a glass cabin, but it has to be the responsibility of every individual in an organization. Just as an example, please don't mistake me, but we have a concept called the ideas tree. Every engineer, I have got about 14,000 engineers who work within our company. Every engineer has to definitely produce 2 new ideas every year. That's the basis on which he or she is ultimately rewarded. That's the baseline. But then, when the ideas come, you should have the ability to process them too. But we're processing the ideas, we're rewarding them, we're making sure that these people certainly are today enjoying being innovators. I keep saying you have to recognize an innovator, reward an innovator, and finally celebrate innovation. Therefore, we need to create an ecosystem. And to me, honestly, the 5 core values I keep talking about innovation is, number one, is that we have to challenge the status quo. If we allow saying that things work the same way with the work, you'll never be in a position to do something different from what it is. That is what Elon Musk has proved to the world. He said, you don't require that engine in an electric car. You don't even find actually a gasoline tank. You don't find the batteries. The batteries have also disappeared. It's all in that floor plate which is energized with enough of cooling built into it. So the second one I keep saying is our ability to take risks have to increase. As a society, we all the time think about we should be the winners. I don't dispute that at all. We should be the winners. But unless you try out things, how would you be a winner? And when you try out things, you definitely will not be a winner all the time. I therefore keep saying that we should also celebrate our failures. Or, I rephrase it, we should celebrate our learnings from our failures. So therefore, the second thing that I have as my core value is on innovation, is to say, let's give ability for people to take risks and try out their ideas. A third one is, we live in time and age where there is tremendous amount of intersection of technologies that keep happening. You look at an automobile. I'm a mechanical engineer by training. Traditionally, what we thought about an automobile was it is nothing but a mechanical device. Rotating parts, an engine, a differential, a rack and pinion arrangement, a braking system, all of that. You look at what happens on Elon Musk's Tesla motor car. He calls it computer on the wheels. fly-by-wire. And then, there's so much amount of software. There's collision control. There is lane control. There is speed control. All of these are software which are driving it. So therefore, a car, which is an automobile, or an automobile which was called a mechanical device, is not any longer just a mechanical device. It has electrical power. The motors are running the wheels now. It has electronics. It has software. And there is a sizable amount of metallurgy that's going around. There's a sizable number of parts within there, which are all non-moving parts. Actually, yet another point I like to make there is the traditional automobile, it had 100 moving parts. On an electric car right now, they're down to 10. 90% reduction in moving parts. You can just imagine what is going to be the life of the car thereafter. So the third point is intersection of technologies. So therefore, you have to be very open in making sure we create teams with very different domain knowledge, but they have to work together for the same goal. And the third one is that we need to make sure that we are open to new ideas. We never should suffer from this weakness called not invented here syndrome. And finally, I think, we as Indians, again, I'm 100% an Indian, and I can therefore say it very loudly and clearly, is that we don't have patience and tenacity. We move on from one to the next one very quickly. A reflection of that is also, I think, the job market in the IT industry. We still suffer 18%, 17% attrition. Never heard about even in the Western world where economies are growing at about 4%. The attritions are not more than 4%. So therefore, if you get these 5 things right, the core values, you will have more amount of innovation. Therefore, the timing is right in terms of technology. You need to create that environment which will make sure more amount of innovation happens. I think it has traditionally been not true with most of us as companies. But I can share with you, my company was a services company. But in the fact that it was a services company, still has 5 innovation labs within the company today, is a reflection of how the market has changed. How, therefore, we have to change. We got to make sure that more amount of innovation happens within the company. So just not, I'm saying, try out new ideas or give the new ideas, but you need to have the wherewithal to take these ideas to the logical end. So therefore, there needs to be a tremendous amount of transformation in terms of innovation. And what we have also seen is in the past, most of the innovation happening in India was more of copycat innovation. That's what I keep calling it. What we did was imitate what was happening in the West. Mr. Shastri and I were talking about it. It was all to do with the e-commerce. That was all about innovation that happened. It was nothing but, probably getting it from the West. But I think we should change that. And we should probably have more amount of deep domain knowledge at this point of time. If you get into deep tech, that's how I think innovation will prosper in the country. So that's my strategy number 1. Innovation has to be encouraged in every facet of our life. The second strategy I have is that we need to get more amount of support from research, which means that the stakeholders in research to me are A, academia, B, research institutions, C, the industry itself. All of us have to work together to make sure, A, research becomes the best. You look at the Western world, I belong to a generation where there was, for the first time, way back in late 70s, early 80s, first time there was something called workstations that came into the world. Workstations had enormous amount of CPU capability, had a large amount of RAM, it had graphics, and then they were all connected on Ethernet. First time, that was the forerunner of the current workstations which are there. Current workstations were personal computers, whereas there was a class difference which is called workstations. And there were 3 in the world. One was Sun Microsystems, the second one was Apollo Computers, the third was Three River Computer Corporation. All of these 3 products came from university research. Apollo came out of MIT, Sun came from Stanford, and Three River Computer Corporation came out Carnegie Mellon. So therefore, I think there is imperative need at this point of time for our academic institutions to focus on, again, deep research and produce work which can definitely be used by the industry. That leads me to the second one is you have enormous number of research institutions in this country. Whether you call it as the CSR labs, you call them as national labs, you have the DRDO labs, and so on and so forth. But yes, there is good work being done. I have to acknowledge that. But how much of it is being actually monetized at the end? How much of it really reaches the end user finally? Not all of it, very small fraction of it. So therefore, can we now work on a strategy to make sure that our research institutions work towards the goal of monetization of the work, rather than, I think the only way it can happen is when you push them to become self-sufficient. They have to monetize it. And the third one is the industry itself. In United States, in the aerospace defense market, 70% of the R&D budget comes from the private industry. In India, 80% of the R&D investments come from the government. Government has very small portion of government has a big focus because nobody in the private sector is doing that. So I think there is a need at this point of time for us from the corporate world also to participate in research. So while I'm talking about research as one aspect of life, who does research? Still, robots are not doing the research, AI is not doing the research, it's a human being which is doing the research. So we need to have also knowledgeable, skilled human beings to come to work. And that is one which is of a major concern to me. I think we are having major challenges in terms of quality of education. Quality of education is deteriorating. You leave those cream layer, which is to do with the IITs or NIITs or some of the private engineering colleges. People want to take a guess how many private engineering colleges are in the country today, live and kicking? Thank you. You're very close. I believe since we spoke, the good news is 5,194, you said, right? The good news is some of them have closed down. The last number I heard, since we spoke, right? Since the young man spoke, the number is very close. 4,500 is what was the last number I heard. And then what were we producing? We were producing at one stage 14 lakh graduate engineers. It's down to about 7 lakhs, I believe, currently. 7.5 lakhs is the number. And then you saw, I mean, this is not my report, so you can't hold me responsible for it. There's a newspaper article which came in the last few weeks, Aspiring Minds, which talks about no more than 14%, 15% of them are really employable at this point of time. So if you get that type of engineers into the system, you have an answer. Can we do product development? We don't. You might say, no, Mr. Reddy, we're not using all of them, we're using small sum of them. But I'm saying the nation has to change. Only then we go into product development mode. So therefore, the second strategy that I have is that we need to improve on research, and we also build in a true society where we respect knowledge and skills. Let me move on to my third strategy, and this is, believe me, this is my last one. My third strategy is that we need to promote more amount of entrepreneurship. And that, I think, is a single way in which we can address some of the challenges that I talked about earlier. Not necessarily that I'm saying research will improve through entrepreneurship, but at least some of the ideas which are there now in some of the research institutions that are around the country can get monetized, can see the light of the day. We did this small little effort. We did this small little effort in creating something called the T-Hub. The Telangana Hub, you can call it, or the Technology Hub if you like to do it the other way around. But look at the results that we have seen. It has only 700 seats at this point of time, but we have as many as 900 startups which are registered with us. I'm the founder director of the T-Hub, so I know the precise numbers. And today there are as many as 206 companies physically working in T-Hub. All this happened in less than 24 months. I'm saying while T-Hub could be a good example, we need many more T-Hubs to come by. I think we should give all the credit to Mr. K.T. Ramarao and Mr. Jayesh Ranjan and others who ably supported us in making sure we could create something like this. To me, the future lies in having more and more amount of entrepreneurs. And therefore, the other suggestion I have, the strategy that we can make sure, and I'm fighting with the government at this point of time, and we've done reasonably well in introducing entrepreneurship as a minor in the bachelor's degree. Not necessarily, I think, 100% of people will become entrepreneurs, but they will at least become intrapreneurs, where accountability and responsibility will increase considerably once they start learning what all entrepreneurship is all about. And therefore, to sum it up, I think there's a need for product development. Certainly we had challenges, But the timing could not have been any better than what it is today because technology is at its best. If we can promote innovation, we can make sure the research gets in the right direction. And finally, if we can have more amount of entrepreneurs in this country, product development will become a reality. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for that excellent piece of direction, trends, and the focus on innovation in this country. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much. So I think it's time for us to honor Dr. BVR Mohan Reddy. So I'd like the chairman of IASA, Mr. Ashwini Agarwal, to felicitate Padma Shree Dr. BVR Mohan Reddy, founder and executive chairman of Scient.
So I know that's a privilege I'm being given, but what I would really like to do is invite a couple of industry colleagues over to help with the felicitation. May I ask Mr. Ram Reddy, our chair for the Hyderabad SEG, chair for Deftronics, and is Vidya around? Yes, Vidya, we need you on the stage. We need you on the stage. We need you on the stage, Vidya. Come. We need you. You are Vidya.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Come. So I think these two to start with. And okay, so you're going to join me in the felicitation. I don't think I should do it on my own.
Okay.
And you've been... Yeah. So you've been passionately involved with it, so I think both of you, I do want you to be there for the occasion. So,
Kiran Mayer's there.
She just left. Okay, I think Kiran's left. But
Oh, Jesh is coming?
she's
Okay, great. So we'll...
another 2 minutes.
Okay.
Can we do one thing then? Start with Dr. Reddy. We will go ahead. So it's not me. Okay, that's the key. I would like Vidya, with all your seniority.
If you're waiting for Jay Shree, why not?
Get Anil. Yeah, get Anil.
Anil, come.
Anil, please come.
The more the merrier. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Jayesh, for coming on stage. Yeah, we'll take a Kiran, why don't you come on stage, please? Kiran, come on stage, please. We'd like to invite Sri Jayesh Ranjan, Principal Secretary, Department of Industries and Commerce and IT, Government of Telangana, to address the gathering, please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My apologies for being late. First of all, I would like to congratulate BVR Mohan Reddy Garu, the pride of our city, our state and our country, for being felicitated by ISA body. It's an extremely deserving honor, and since I know what he has contributed here to this city and to this state personally, I really admire the fact that you have chosen such an appropriate person for this honor. So congratulations to all of you. Ashwini ji, chairperson of ISA, other members of ISA Management Committee, distinguished speakers, invitees, ladies and gentlemen. I was here in the opening ceremony also, and I'm again very proud to acknowledge the fact that this event has started so successfully and so positively here in Hyderabad, the fourth edition of Deftronics. And I'm very sure that now that we are towards the fag end of the day, I'm sure that throughout the day, all of us have had some very insightful discussions. We have been enriched by some of the thoughts that have been shared. I am also very gladdened to see that the who's who of the industry, the defense industry, the electronics, the semiconductor industry, they all have chosen to attend this event, and some of their top leadership is present. I met many of them on the sidelines in the morning and even now. In fact, one of the reasons I got delayed was that though I stepped into the hotel on time, I was stopped in the lobby, and I had a very interesting conversation with 2-3 very important industry leaders whom I just could not ignore. And they were also talking about bringing some business to Hyderabad. So I obviously have to give extreme priority to that aspect of my work. But nevertheless, since you are in Hyderabad, and many of you might have heard about the way our government is running the business here in the last 3 years, many of you would have got a very personal sense of it since morning. You would have heard the minister speak in the plenary session. You would have seen some of the exhibition stalls put up by our homegrown enterprises, including many from the mid-scale and the small-scale companies. And obviously, you would have networked and interacted with people who have businesses here already and got a very direct feedback. In fact, I would like to share something. I was talking, as I said, just before entering the hall, I was talking to a couple of people who again represent a very important industry, one of the largest semiconductor companies. And I was trying to tell them that in the last 3 years, Hyderabad has seen some amazing traction. Some of the best in the world have chosen to come to Hyderabad. And he was asking me what exactly it is that companies find of value here in Hyderabad. So since time was running out, I kind of gave him a summary. I told him that there are 3 reasons why people prefer Hyderabad. And I chose Bangalore as a comparison. Not that I have anything against Bangalore, not that I want to run down Bangalore. It is a city that I really like going to. But since that is the obvious comparison, people either come here or go there. I told him 3 things. I actually gave him a live example. I told him that Apple have set up their, the first time when they moved out of North America, they have decided to set up their maps division here in Hyderabad. And today they have 4,800 people, all GIS professionals who are working here in Hyderabad. And when Tim Cook was here and many of his other senior colleagues were here, we actually asked him that what prompted him to choose Hyderabad. And a summary of what his team told us was, one is that when it comes to comparison with other Indian cities, the very strong value proposition in terms of infrastructure, the quality of infrastructure vis-a-vis the cost of infrastructure is very high in Hyderabad. So these gentlemen with whom I was talking to in the lobby, I just pointed out that if you have to rent some space across the road, there are some commercial buildings. The rental that you will pay in Hyderabad will be half of what you will be paying in Bangalore. In Bangalore, you may be paying maybe some 70 rupees or 80 rupees for that space per SFT. Here, the rental will be roughly around 40 rupees or so. And at that rental in Bangalore, you will get only half the infrastructure of what you will get in Hyderabad. So you will get only half the infrastructure at twice the cost. So that is one very strong value proposition. The second important value proposition, again, is in terms of availability of talent, which I won't say that Bangalore has lesser availability or so. Perhaps the availability could be equal in both the cities. But one important point about Hyderabad is the retention of that talent. And again, I don't know if anyone from Qualcomm is there in the audience, but I have data of Qualcomm Hyderabad versus Qualcomm Bangalore, because both these cities host roughly equal number of professionals. Hyderabad has roughly 3,800 Qualcomm employees, and Bangalore has roughly 3,600 Qualcomm employees. And I was in a similar seminar where I coincidentally bumped into the 2 respective heads of Qualcomm. The Qualcomm head of Hyderabad, of course, is my friend, Shree Reddy. And I was introduced to the gentleman who heads Qualcomm Bangalore. And we just we got talking. And out of curiosity, I asked him about this fact. So the Bangalore gentleman mentioned that his employee turnover is like the Silicon Valley turnover. He loses 12%, 14% employees every year. And Shree Reddy told me, and I know this for sure because I meet so many companies every day, that here the turnover is only about 4% to 5%. So availability of talent and the ability to retain that talent is definitely a very strong point which companies look for in Hyderabad. And the third factor, of course, is the fact that government is very supportive. In Bangalore, there is a general sense that government is indifferent to the requirements of the industry, while here they find that there is lots of effort to proactively reach out to find out what exactly is happening. Is there something which they want to be changed or improved or modified? Is there anything which they want to be advocated? Now, I don't know how much of GST is an issue for you, but for the software companies, GST has been a very big thing, particularly the way the returns, etc., have to be filed. So they require filing at every location where the company is present, and it requires multiple kinds of inspections, etc. So because we support a huge software industry, with the help of NASSCOM, which BVR Garu was heading at that time, we personally took it upon ourselves to really advocate with the government of India, with the finance minister and other concerned, about the need to have very simplified system of GST. Of course, not that it was fully agreed upon, but at least we made a very sincere effort on behalf of the industry. So any issue where you require advocacy, where you require lobbying, where you require campaigning, for all homegrown players, the government here takes a very, very proactive and a very strong stand. So these are some of the reasons why of late companies feel that Hyderabad is the best bet amongst all cities in the country. And since morning you must have learned about this, that in both the defense and aerospace sector, as well as in the electronic and semiconductor sector, we are seeing some amazing traction. In fact, in defense sector, the recent entrants in Hyderabad, those names are quite well known. Boeing has set up a large project in Hyderabad. And Rafael, you had Mr. Kalyani in the morning himself here. He and the Rafael group have taken up a joint venture project, which does a very state-of-the-art kind of thing. And there are a couple of other very big names, which I don't want to announce at this point because nothing has been tied up, so to say. But in the coming months, you will see some real mega announcements of 2-3 very, very big defense projects coming our way here in Hyderabad. And similarly, in the areas of semiconductor and in the area of electronic manufacturing, we are receiving some very amazing traction. Again, I don't want to disclose names, but we are on the verge of closing some very, very important discussions, which can see Hyderabad really leapfrogging as a most preferred destination for manufacturing. But there is something else beyond manufacturing also, which I want to speak very briefly as a concluding part of my remarks. I guess BVR Mohan Reddy garu spoke about it briefly, but I would like to also add my bit. Now, one thing is that, as most of you would be aware, startups are playing a very significant role in the world of technology today. And the same is now true for India as a whole. And of course, Bangalore has an early lead over any other Indian city in terms of nurturing startups. But in the last 3 years, Hyderabad has really come off its own. And our model, a government-led model of promoting a very comprehensive entrepreneurial ecosystem, has received lots of acclaim. In fact, many of you would be aware that we host the largest technology incubator of the country called T-Hub. And now we are coming up with a very focused incubator which will be focused on electronic hardware and semiconductors, which is called T-Works. T-Works again is modeled on what we see in some cities in the United States, what are called tech shops or maker space there. In fact, the model that we are trying to emulate is something which we saw in Los Angeles. In Los Angeles City, there is an incubator which is run by the government of California. It is called LSCI, Los Angeles La Creds Center for, I don't recall now the full form of that, but it is called LSCI, LASI. And when we visited there about a year and a half ago, we came across an amazing prototyping lab with the latest state-of-the-art equipment, machinery, and a very good model through which all that is made available to entrepreneurs at a highly subsidized rate. Lots of mentoring is possible, lots of networking happens, opportunity to link up with the VC community is provided. So based on what we saw there, we are trying to create what is called T-Works. And one thing which we observed in Los Angeles, which we want to bring here as well, is a very strong industry participation. In fact, in Los Angeles, what we found was that most of the machinery there was either contributed by the industry, either the machinery or the licenses, etc., at very soft terms. And we realized that the industry also gets quite a lot out of it. It is not a charity or a donation that the industry has made. One is that, of course, industry gets some money back, some revenue back through a pay-per-use model. But the industry also commissions lots of R&D, lots of projects using these startups, using these young entrepreneurs. So it also gains quite a lot in outsourcing their R&D work. Not, of course, the core R&D, but some kind of ancillary or related R&D. So I would request all of you, if you want to learn more about T-Works and how the industry can participate and contribute, I'll be very happy to share all that with you later. And later meaning after the formal ceremony is over here. The second interesting concept, which initiative that we are promoting is, many of you would be aware and many of you would perhaps be from that industry itself. Hyderabad has a small but a very thriving VLSI industry. In fact, many of the large semiconductor companies give lots of work to the VLSI companies who are located in Hyderabad. And our interest is now to promote a very state-of-the-art VLSI academy, which will make high-quality talent available to the industry. And here again, we look at a public-private model in which the government collaborates with the industry to put together this training academy. And again, the industry participation will be in the form of course, providing equipment, but also in providing senior leadership, their kind of resources, who can take sessions there, who can design courses, who can conduct these courses. And obviously, if you find good talent amongst the students who are using this academy, then obviously you give placement opportunities in your companies, etc. So these are two new initiatives of ours, which will be of tremendous relevance to members of audience here. The minister had already announced the setting up of a defense and aerospace incubator. So I don't want to elaborate more on that. So that one initiative plus these two that I spoke about, T Works and the VLSI Academy. If your company feels that these two initiatives are aligned with your own priorities, then please reach out to us. We'll be very happy to give you more information. In fact, there are two small teams working on these two initiatives in my office, and I can connect you to those team leaders also who can give you much more clarification and information. So once again, I'm very happy that the fourth edition of Deftronics is commencing extremely satisfactorily. I did notice in the morning that the hall was overflowing and there were lots of people who could not get in. So I'm sure when we plan for the fifth edition, we'll try to do it in a bigger and a more spacious venue, and we'll try to have much more enriching content and a very strong value addition to all of you. So once again, congratulations to the ISA, the entire Deftronics team. And once again, thanks very much for inviting me here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I think it's a fantastic speech. I think your Karnataka needs to learn. You're clearly giving a run for Bangalore's money. All right. So I think it's time for us to move on with the Deftronics Awards. We'd like to invite Krishnamurthy, who's a corporate VP and MD of Rambus and the Defense Core Interest Group Chair, to talk about Deftronics Awards.
Very good evening to all of you. Respected Mr. BVR Mohan Reddy, Principal Secretary Mr. Jayesh Ranjan, and Chairman of IESA. It's my pleasure and privilege to talk to you what the Deftronics Awards are all about. After which, Venki will announce the awards. So until then, we'll keep the awards a suspense. IESA has many core initiative groups in skill development, in startup, in automotive, aerospace and defense, and different executive committee members take the responsibility of coordinating that. And we have a very active core initiative group in Hyderabad chapter itself, which is led by Ram and Kiranmai and others. And the result of that is what we see here today. Since morning, we have been listening to the huge opportunities. Both Indian and global market were discussed. $75 billion of electronics opportunities in the next 5 years is the number which bubbled up from different speakers. Successful companies who played in this field talked about a little earlier about the challenges they faced, how they overcome those challenges. Just now, Mr. BVR Mohan Reddy talked about how 14-15% of the world production of defense systems get imported to India. In a country which is struggling to meet the offset obligation, and our neighborhood environment is not becoming any friendly. Internal security challenges are mounting day by day. And just now, the effect of technology velocity was explained very nicely by Mr. Reddy. So it is in the midst of all this, and all of us who are players in this field also know that the return on investment in aerospace and defense is not like anything like the return on investment on an Android application. It's completely different scale that we are talking about. You have to wait much longer before you start seeing the money coming in, right? It is into this cauldron of opportunities and challenges, high velocity technology, and long-term ROI gestation that we evaluate different companies, we are not only celebrating their success through these awards, but we are also celebrating their courage, their ability and tenacity and patience, as Mr. Reddy spoke very correctly a short while ago. We have 6 awards every year for aerospace and defense that we give. The best product design company in aerospace and defense, an Indian company, a completely Indian company. This is the first award. The second one is the best product design company in aerospace and defense, multinational, but who does true defense, aerospace and defense development in India, right? The best electronics manufacturing company in aerospace and defense, an Indian company again, and the best electronics and manufacturing multinational company, again doing true manufacturing, end-to-end manufacturing in India. And the next award is the most promising startup in aerospace and defense. And the last but not the least, we have a Lifetime Achievement Award, which is given to a true lifetime achiever, which is named after none other than Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. And these are the 6 awards that we will be presenting in a short while from now. And I don't think a better place than Hyderabad it can be for presenting the Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Award, because he, I think, worked for a good part of his life in this city. And it must be a tremendous moment for the person who receives this award. So I will let Venki come on stage and slowly remove the suspense one by one. Thank you.
Thank you, Krishna. Thanks for that explanation of how we coined all these 6 awards, which we've been diligently doing over the last couple of years. And year on year, I think it's getting better and better. I think this year, Debanjan, who's our analyst, spent a lot of time, almost like 4-5 months, to kind of put this together. So without much ado, I think I would like to announce the first award. The Best Product Design Company in Aerospace and Defense Indian category goes to Idea Forge Technology Private Limited. Idea Forge, Ankit. So Ankit is the first guy 10 years ago, comes out of IIT with 4 of his colleagues, sets up this company, opens up the UAV space in this country for private sector. So let's give him a big hand. We'd like Dr. BVR Reddy to hand over the awards along with Jay Ranjan. The next award is the Best Product Design Company in Aerospace and Defense. The multinational company category, the MNC category, goes to Keysight Technologies India Private Limited.
Get up and shout, let the music be loud.
next category, Best Electronics Manufacturing Company in Aerospace and Defense, Indian, to a Hyderabad company. All of you are aware of this company, Astra Microwave Products Limited. Astra Microwave.
Get up and shout. Let the music be loud, 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 loud. Get up and shout. Let the music be loud, loud, loud.
The Best Electronics Manufacturing Company in Aerospace and Defense for a multinational corporation, MNC category, goes to Windstream Energy Technologies India Private Limited. Windstream Energy. Okay. Yeah, please. Please, Prasad. Thank you, Prasad. Thank you, Prasad. Now, this category is something very close to my heart, startups. The most promising startup in aerospace and defense goes to Sagar Defense Engineering Private Limited. Sagar Defense is incubated at Entrepreneur Park, Delhi. That IESA has actually played a big role in this, setting up that park in Delhi. Okay, the next is the most coveted one. The Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Lifetime Achievement Award goes to Dr. Tessie Thomas. So Dr. Tessie Thomas is actually coming tomorrow to receive it, but I just thought we should announce it today so that it goes to the press. Right? Let's give her a big hand, even in her absence. So we now move on to the vote of thanks. Like Anil, the Vice Chairman of IESA, to deliver the vote of thanks and conclude the day one of Deftronics.
Thank you, Vinky. I have this privilege of doing this vote of thanks once again. I would like to first thank Dr. Mohan Reddy Garu. He is the founder and chairman of Scient group of companies. First of all, I would like to congratulate you once again, sir, for the Padma Award. We are very honored that you are here to receive this small token of appreciation from us. I just want to mention only one thing. He has been supporting us, our Deftronics, right from the beginning. He was present at the curtain raiser of Deftronics, and he gave a press conference. It was a blockbuster. We had something like 30 newspapers covering next day and a lot of TV channels. So he was like a rock star. So thank you very much, sir. That gave a kickstart for our event. And I would like to thank Mr. Jayesh Ranjan, Principal Secretary, Telangana Government. And it was very interesting speech, sir. We were really very happy to know that so many companies are coming to Telangana and Hyderabad region. And also for this good news of Defense Incubation Center. Thank you very much for this and wish you all the best. We hope that your state attracts more and more investments, and we will definitely support from ISA for that. And I have some VIPs. I would like to thank Dr. VVS Shastri Garu for his presence, and he came all the way from Delhi to attend this event, and he is the ex-chairman of Bharat Electronics. And I have a list of members whom we would like to thank. First of all, I would like to thank the organizing committee of Deftronics, first from Hyderabad team. Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank Ram Reddy Garu from Moschip. I think he was like a pillar and he supported us. And Mr. Ajay Naini of Xilinx. And Mr. Ramesh Kenchi. It's a special thanks to him. He is actually a defense expert and he's also an advisor to Moschip, and he's a business development person. And he's an entrepreneur himself. He was very instrumental in bringing many VIPs to this event. So thank you very much, sir. And I would like to thank Dr. Kiranmai Pendyala, AMD, head of global HR head, for our great support and getting the Andhra government support. Telangana government support for our event. Thank you very much, Dr. Kiranmai. And Mr. Manoj Nair of Xilinx. He was like a champion in getting a maximum number of registrations. He said he got about 75 registrations. So I told him, you get this special prize for getting so many registrations. Thank you very much. And then we'd like to thank Mr. Rajsekhar, Mr. Bipin Chandra Datta Pandyala. Rajsekhar, thank you very much for your help. And Mr. Bipin Chandra Datta Pandyala from Moschip. And Mr. Ravi Tirumuraraju. Ravi, are you here? Yes, thank you very much. And Ms. Sridevi from TAI, Hyderabad. She was here in the morning. It looks like she's not there now. And Manpreet Kaur. Yes. She's also supporting right from the beginning. Thank you very much. And Hridesh and Vivek. And now I would like to thank our Bangalore team, Mr. Vidya Shankar, our president, for all his support. And Mr. Krishnamurthy Krishnan, he was our organizing committee head actually, Deftronics, so from Bangalore. And Mr. Ashwini Agarwal, our chairman. And special thanks to Venki, Senior Director, ARM. So I don't know, I would like to thank you, or I have to thank ARM for sending you. ARM, okay. Thank you, ARM, okay, for all his work, and thank you very much for supporting us. And Sanjay Handu is not here. He's a defense expert and consultant. He was also part of our Deftronics committee. And all the award winners. And last but not the least, our IESA Bangalore team, Surya, Gaurav Punjabi, Apu, Kala, Debanjan, Suman, and Muthu. I think this team worked round the clock. Sorry? Yeah, Chandrakala. Okay, so thank you very much once again for all the participants and delegates who came in big numbers and supported our event. And event is not over, so we have one more day to go tomorrow. And after this event, we request all of you to join the dinner and cocktails. Thank you very much. Sorry, I completely missed out Delhi team, because Delhi team always they stand in the back and they support. Rajiv Jain, two Rajivs, and Rajiv Vadva. So Rajiv Jain, our vice president, and Rajiv Vadva. So like always, I make mistakes. Please pardon me. Thank you very much.
Okay, don't go away because there's something very exciting, and this comes in a last minute, which is very, very good. Moschip has been doing a great job at the event. They've been giving away Kindles to people who come and take a look at the booth. I believe there are a couple of mementos that they want to give for people who have. I think they must have. What was they visited the booth and okay, all right, great. So the first Kindle goes to Mr. N. Ganesh, Additional General Manager, HAL. Is he here? It will go only to people who are here. We will not send it. We will not send it to them or give it to somebody else on their behalf. However well you know them. So is Ramesh J from BL around? Oh wow, there he is. So you get a Kindle. Yeah. Can we have Ram and Damodaran from Moschip, please, to come and give away the Kindles? Ram and Damodar? Damodar? Yeah, please come. No, Damodar. Thanks for giving me. I would have happy if you had told me you were giving me Yeah, you will be good. Okay, wonderful. Thank you, sir. Okay, there's one more name. Goes by Ellamanda, Senior DGM BL again. It all goes to BL. Oh, are you guys doing something in BL? Okay, please go to the Moschip booth. Let me promote them because they have the more Kindles to be given away tomorrow. Okay, so I'm going to come in tomorrow as well. Okay, so, okay, thank you very much.